It's the middle of the night. Everything should be quiet. But at 3:47 local time, something impossible is happening over Russian airspace. 4 small objects are closing on a major oil complex at blistering speed, invisible to most sensors and behaving like nothing the defenders were trained to see. What unfolds next is a sequence of decisions, failures, and improvisations that will turn doctrine into doubt and a fortress into a ruin. This is the story of how low-cost drones, clever tricks, and perfect timing expose the brittle edges of the world's most confident air defenses. Outside the town of R, an S-400 operator watches the scope. Contacts appear, a delicate cluster on the radar, fluttering like a flock. But these aren't birds. They're in tight formation, heading straight for the country's largest refinery. At 52 kilometers from the target, the leader of that pack climbs hard to 800 meters. The battery commander does the math in a heartbeat. If he fires now, his interceptors, each missile worth millions, will have a chance. Delay, and the closing speed erases his options. His training says, verify. His gut says, shoot. He launches 2 interceptors. The missiles burn, accelerate, and climb. But then the tiny attackers disappear. They drop low, under the radar horizon, below where the missile seeker can see. Without continuous radar illumination, semi-active seekers are blind. The missiles detonate on old positions, 80 meters high, scattering steel into empty sky. Close, yet useless. The refinery's final ring of protection are 2 Panzer S-1 batteries, a mix of cannons and missile cells. Their radar is tuned for bigger things: aircraft, cruise missiles. Against 0.1 square meter drones at 8 kilometers, the radar return is a whisper above the noise. Contacts fade in and out. Hydraulics take time to turn the guns. Seconds evaporate. The lead attacker doesn't wait. It locks a warhead onto a weak point and hits. That single strike is followed by 3 more in quick succession. In under 2 minutes, 140,000 tons of stored petroleum erupt into flame. Temperatures spike. Fires rage for days. Fuel supplies are slashed. The cost isn't just tonnage, it's shock. Hundreds of kilometers away, a second wave is inbound. A dozen or more drones approaching another refinery. This time, the defenders believe themselves ready. Multiple batteries arranged in triangles, overlapping fields of fire, radars trained. The schematic looks perfect on paper. Then something strange. A subset of the incoming drones climbs and presents radar signatures that match cruise missiles. Why? Because they've deployed corner reflectors, small triangular sheets of aluminum that throw radar energy right back at the sender. A 10-centimeter reflector can mimic a 10 square meter target. The defenders' automatic classifiers scream, "Priority cruise missile." Engagement doctrine locks on. Millions of dollars in interceptors are launched to chase what is, in reality, aluminum foil. The reflectors fall, new blips appear, older ones descend. The radar sees more targets than exist. Command guidance missiles race after ghosts, while the real attackers skim low and come from blind angles. The system is tricked into playing whack-a-mole with mirrors. While eyes and radars track the staged fireworks above, other drones approach at wave-top height, sometimes 5 meters above the sea, exploiting the curvature of the Earth. Ground radars cannot see below the horizon, so these attackers slip in under the curtain. At such low altitude, even the best systems rely on short-range local sensors, many of which are absent or overwhelmed. They find hangars full of the enemy's own loitering drones. 30-odd Shaheds sit in maintenance spaces. Fuel, explosives, and fragile infrastructure all packed tightly together. A single strike can ignite chain reactions. When the first tiny attacker hits, the hangar doesn't just burn, it launches into the night like a mortar, carrying fire and debris that ignites adjacent storage. Within a minute, dozens of drones, millions of dollars worth of hardware, and critical maintenance facilities are vaporized. The base commander orders scramble. The runway is choked with smoke. Visibility collapses. Fighters can't get airborne. Defense becomes reaction, and reaction is late. Now imagine a strike 630 kilometers inland, a place most planners believed safe. Two modified drones arrive over Penza. On paper, their range is impossible, but someone accepted trade-offs. Cut explosive weight, add auxiliary fuel tanks, and sacrifice offensive mass for distance. The cost: a reduced warhead and a boosted fuel load. The payoff: reach. An Su-35 fighter that had been hunting in the area locks one of these drones in its radar. The pilot fires R-77 missiles, active seeker weapons that don't need ground illumination. The first missile sends fragments into one drone, crippling it. The second makes a direct hit. One is shredded, one tumbles on damaged controls, and one strikes the roof of a specialized industrial facility. A semiconductor fab. This is where the narrative shifts from tactical to strategic. A 15-kilogram warhead is unlikely to level heavy industry. But semiconductor fabs are not heavy industry in the traditional sense. They are precise, fragile ecosystems. Clean rooms, electron beam lithography, and ion implantation systems that cost tens of millions and took years to commission. The impact turns months of painstaking work, critical chips, and supply lines into dust. The nation's ability to produce certain processors stalls for months. Back in another sector, a cluster of attackers suddenly go blind. GPS and comms vanish. Jammers, not ordinary noise, but a deluge across frequencies from 0.1 to 18 gigahertz, have overpowered satellite whispers. GPS transmitters from 20,000 kilometers up emit milliwatts. A nearby jammer can be quadrillions of times stronger. The drone's inertial navigation systems try to compensate, but gyros drift over long flights. Thermal throttling kicks in as processors heat under load, and emergency power-saving modes shut off radios, transmitters, and lights to preserve a few degrees of performance. At 30 seconds to impact, the navigation algorithm has only fragments. It hunts for patterns in thermal signatures, object shadows, anything stable. Then it finds them. 3 tanks whose shadows intersect at a unique triangle. One drone locks on, but its commands cannot be shared because command channels are jammed. A microsecond gap in the jammer's sweep lets a lead drone send a tiny packet of GPS coordinates to its squad mates. The rest adjust. The result? A pinpoint hit where armor meets concrete and a fuel store ignites. Timing is precision. The Ukrainians in this scenario have engineered seconds to line up with reload cycles, hydraulic delays, and firing arcs. They know that when a mobile air defense system fires dozens of missiles, its reload sequence is fixed. It takes precious tens of seconds to replace spent tubes, to cycle, to resume full capacity. They plan their strikes for those windows, when automatic loaders and turret rotations leave vulnerabilities exposed. At one target, 3 batteries simultaneously fired hundreds of missiles in a heartbeat. The defenders thought that put paid to the threat. Instead, it created an opening. Reload time. Attackers, timed to the second, struck while tubes were being replaced and the system was temporarily blind. The result? Hangars destroyed, runways choked, the cascade of failure. There's another constant in modern interception. The missiles and seekers are marvels, but they have limits. High G maneuvers, rapid angular velocity, and sudden altitude variations can overload aerodynamic control and seeker gimbals. When drones execute sudden 6G pull-ups or continuous barrel rolls while varying altitude, They create angular rates that exceed what seekers and control surfaces can physically follow. Missiles stall, canards separate from controlled flow, seekers experience gimbal lock, intercepts miss, detonate harmlessly, or explode but leave the swarm effective. This isn't magic. It's physics and engineering applied creatively. Tiny platforms exploit the asymmetry between what they can do and what legacy weapons were designed to counter. Consider the economics. A few $1,000s of aluminum, foam, and fuel can force expenditure of missiles worth millions. But the tally is more than money. The deeper result is psychological. When a low-cost system can reach far into the rear, it rewrites what safe distance means. Planners must redeploy systems, vacating frontline coverage, leaving gaps that can become operational lifelines for artillery and missile units. A small weapon becomes a strategic tool, not because of its lethality alone, but because it forces adaptation. In our story, the attackers spent under $500,000 on the swarm. The damage inflicted, both material and strategic, was in the tens of millions. But more importantly, their adversary's confidence was fractured. If drones can reach a city 630 kilometers away, the map of what is defended and what is exposed changes overnight. So what did this night reveal? First, layered defenses are only as strong as their weakest assumptions. Systems tuned for large, fast, predictable targets stumble when presented with numbers, tactics, and electronic chaos. Second, deception. Simple reflectors, noise, and timing multiplies effect. Third, small adaptive platforms can convert tactical surprise into operational leverage, especially when integrated with EW and intelligent mission design. The era of giant, expensive interceptors facing single symmetric threats is ending. The match is now between adaptability and doctrine. A refinery burns, a chip fab is turned to dust, a base's runway is buried in smoke. None of it required miracle weapons, only clever minds, precise timing, and an intimate understanding of how systems behave under pressure. The true weapon wasn't the drone alone, it was the plan. To force the defender to choose, to exploit milliseconds of human and mechanical delay, to bend physics and doctrine until they broke. If there's one lesson from that impossible night, it's this. The future of warfare will be written in seconds, by teams who think differently about cost, by engineers who trade conventional mass for cleverness, and by commanders willing to accept small risks for strategic reach. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into the technology and tactics shaping modern conflict, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell. It really helps the channel. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed.